Good morning, good afternoon, good day, everyone, wherever you're joining us from. This is the February edition of AFRAA SkyConnect Dialogue. And today, my guest is none other than the very simple, down-to-earth, people-centered chairman of Airlines of Nigeria, Mr. Onyema. In today's discussion, we would be reviewing a number of issues, and he would be sharing his perspective with us on the state of the air transport recovery in the Nigerian and West African market. We take a dive into some aspects of the industry cost, block funds and airline cooperation, and what needs to be done to enhance airlines' operational success in the sub-region and across the continent. We would then be looking at the single African air transport market and all the elements, as well as how we can take advantage of the African continental free trade area as airlines to boost our cargo operations. And Mr. Onyema will further discuss aspects on which he thinks AFRAA can help the Nigerian air transport industry. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to today's show. But as it's always the case, you are invited to participate actively in the discussions by using our Q&A tab to post your questions, or use the chat box to post your comments. And as we move along, I would be reviewing this and asking the chairman to respond to your questions or comments as may be appropriate. We would also have 1 hour time for today's session, as in previous, and we would be going straight into the issues. But just before I get started, for the sake of those of you who probably might not have known Mr. Onyema, I would ask him to, for starters, to give us a brief background about himself and the airline Airpeace, Nigeria's biggest carrier. Mr. Onyema, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Yes, so the show is me, you and I having a conversation with others participating via Q&A and the chat box. And so to start with, just for the sake of those who probably might not know you, if you can give a brief background about yourself and Airpeace, that will help put our discussion in perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I welcome everyone to this particular occasion. And I have to say a very big welcome to all the participants from all over the world who are here to listen to whatever I have to say. And I hope I'm very audible enough, because the Wi-Fi over here is misbehaving sometimes.
Yeah, you are very audible.
Okay. My name is Onyema. Onyema is a lawyer. I started as a lawyer. I was called to the Nigerian Barr some 32 years ago. I practiced the law profession for over 16 years, and I made my mark in the law profession, while at the same time, is back again.
Yes.
So as I was saying, my background is the law profession. I started as a lawyer before I ventured into the world of business. I'm also a nonviolence conflict expert. I do consultancy for the oil industry in Nigeria. I have other businesses. Aviation happens to join my business in the year 2014. That was when I floated Airpeace. Airpeace is just 9 years old in operation. The airline company was established in 2013, but the operations started in 2014. So Airpeace is a 9-year-old airline today. That's where we are.
Great. No, but 9 years is no mean achievement in the airline industry, especially in a rough terrain as Nigeria. We've known a number of airlines come up, and within 5 years, they disappear from the scene. And we see that 9 years down the line, Airpeace is not slowing down, but getting bigger, stronger, and getting further. What's the secret?
Well, when I talk about Airpeace, I talk about a story that is very, very dear, to me. I'm a very passionate person, and everything I do with passion. If I don't get the passion, I don't do anything. And for the avoidance of doubt, I was never an aviator. When in 2013, I bought my first aircraft, I didn't even know anything about aviation. I went into aviation out of love for one's country, out of love to create jobs for the people. Because sometimes in 2007, I was looking for ways of giving back what God has given me, giving it back to the society. And my father, my late father, then may he so rest in peace, told me to look for something that would create massive job employment for people. Because I was asking questions. How do I touch lives of the critical mass of unemployed people in my country? I had so much money, but how do I make that money useful for the larger society? It was not enough giving people money. We in Africa, people come to you, oh, please help me, we help. Next day, the person will come again. So my dad told me to do something that would benefit the society. I started asking questions. What kind of business will I do that will be able to give job to a lot of people? And someone told me, go into airline business. That one Boeing 737 jet, about 1,000 people. I believed because I was naive. I believed. So I went into aviation, not really to make money for myself, but because I was convinced by some others that it could create massive job opportunities for people. I thought it was true that one jet could create job for 1,000 people. When I went into it, I discovered, yes, it could create a lot of jobs, but not for 1,000 to a jet, because if it was so, by now, Airpeace may have employed about 40,000 people, considering our fleet strength. So I went into it just to help the society, just to help my country for love of country. That was the driving passion, because I believe that unless my brothers and sisters, that's what I mean, human community, are invited to my table of prosperity, then my happiness will be and remain a ruse. This is why I went into aviation. And because of this, it has helped Airpeace to grow, because I don't look at Airpeace as a money-making machine to enrich myself and enrich my children and my family. Whatever we make in Airpeace, we put it back into Airpeace. And we keep on doing things to intervene where necessary from my country. So because of that, the airline keeps growing. And again, integrity. You have to show integrity for the banks to believe in you. In Africa, especially in my country, a lot of the banks, because of the antecedents of the past, find it difficult financing airlines. So, but with Airpeace, everything has changed. I think Airpeace has brought hope to the industry, because we pay our loans. We don't have bad loans. When we borrow money, we make sure our loans are serviced as and when due. And that has given the banking industry hope that the aviation industry is changing. We brought that revolution, and that has really helped Airpeace, because all the banks in the country are falling all over themselves to do business with Airpeace. I remember when we went for the Max 737 -8 aircraft, when we made an order for 10 brand new Max 737, all the banks in Nigeria were fighting over themselves who would finance it. It has never happened before. It was because of the integrity I've shown in the business.
Wow.
The same when I wanted to go for Embraer 195, the banks came calling and are financing the acquisition of the Embraer. And you see, integrity is everything. And I implore everyone in this business to show a lot of integrity. So the growth of the rise and rise of APIS is due to the grace and love of God Almighty first. And the fact that God Almighty, imbued a lot of integrity in us to be able to be true to our creditors. And that has really helped. APIS is not afraid to go into it. APIS is not afraid to even make an order for 100 planes tomorrow, because we know the banks will surely come calling.
Yeah, Mr. Onyema, for a non-aviation industry person to plunge deep into this highly capital-intensive industry just for the love of creating jobs for the people, you must have actually thought very carefully through it. Do you have any regrets today, having gone into air transport business?
Not really. You see, the regrets I have is while you are doing things like this, you have people in the sideline trying to bring you down.
Yeah.
So sometimes I feel the pain that should I have been here, or maybe I should have put my monies in some islands out there outside Nigeria, junketing from one place to the other, enjoying my life with my family. Should I have brought this to myself? But when I look at the faces of over 5,000 people employed directly by this airline, that is my encouragement. I don't have any regrets whatsoever. And I've stopped thinking of giving it up. For those who think they will make life difficult for APIS, or make life difficult for us or for me, thinking I'll give it up, I will never.
Never.
We're here to stay.
I like the determination, sir. And now, can you give us some bit of background of the fleet of APIS? How many aircraft did you start with, and what is the fleet strength today?
Yeah, it's a very funny story, and I hope we have time so that we get this story. When I brought in my friend, one engineer, to help me, we went by, because I told you I was never an aviator.
Yes.
The first jet we bought was my executive jet, the Donia 328 jet. So just because I flew on that plane one day and I didn't experience turbulence, I thought it was down to that particular aircraft. So when I met engineer Bolaho, I told him I wanted to go into aviation to create jobs. So we started buying Donia jets. So I told Bolaho, so these jets could create 3,000 jobs. He laughed at me. He said, no, these are executive jets. You don't need many people to run them, and you make a lot of money through charters. I got angry, and I told him that was not what I wanted. So we went back to the United States, and I told them I needed to buy something that could create a lot of jobs for people. I wanted to go into mainstream airline. And those who are in aviation might know Douglas Jaffe of Jetran International in Texas. And he asked me, why do you want to go into aviation? I said, because I want to touch lives of people in my country. And he looked at me and said, are you ready for this? It's not a lucrative business. I said, I'll do it. What kind of aircraft do you want? I said, I needed to buy 737-800. He said, why do you want to buy -800? I said, because it's got winglets, the wings like this.
Okay.
Because then an airline was using winglets in Nigeria, and they told everyone that any aircraft without winglets was not safe. So, and a lot of Nigerians bought the idea that it was only aircraft with winglets that were modern and safe.
Yeah.
So, and I told them, was using that kind of aircraft. That is what I would want to buy. So he said, no, the furthest distance in Nigeria is about 1.5 hours. Most of your flights will be 45 minutes, 50 minutes, 30 minutes. You don't need such an aircraft for now. But I refused. So what he did was to say, okay, because you are an exceptional person who is thinking about other people, I'm going to give you some aircraft with winglets, but not the 737-800, because the cycles you'll be building on 737-800, the engine shop visits will be frequent and are very expensive. Then I didn't know what cycle meant to start with. So he explained to me that cycle means taking off and landing. Once you land, now it's a very, very funny story. So my first 4 planes were 737-500. Okay. But they came with winglets, and that made me happy because they came with winglets, but they were classics. So we started with 7 aircraft in 2014, October, 3 Donia jets and 4 737-500 classics. By 2015, I bought 2 more aircraft, -300, 737-300. I knew that for us to succeed in this business, you must build capacity. So we kept on pushing money, putting money, acquiring planes. By the end of 2016, we had acquired almost 20 planes within just 2 years, because we are very aggressive in our acquisition of aircraft. So now Airpeace has about 38 aircraft. And of course, with brand new planes, we ordered 30 brand new Embraer E2195 in 2019. And those planes have started coming. Fantastic aircraft. I love the E2s. They are very fantastic aircraft. Good for this African region. Good for mid-haul movement also. And good for the domestic arena in Nigeria. Also, equally, though a big aircraft, equally good for short runway landings and short runway takeoff. Fantastic aircraft, and I recommend it to everybody in this industry, because some of those places, some bigger planes could not go within Nigeria. We are using the E2, which is carrying about 124 passengers. We are the launch customers in Africa.
Yeah, I think you just answered the question. One of the questions that one of our listeners is just asking, that how have Airpeace E2s been performing? And I think you've just answered that question, and highly recommend the E2s for any operator on the continent. Thank you for that. Now, but let's look at it in terms of competition. There's this perception that Nigerian operators love to play in the domestic market and don't venture out. I see Airpeace is different. Though you are an active player on the domestic market, but you're also reaching out to other parts of the world. Why do you think many of the Nigerian carriers focus too much internally?
Well, like I was trying to say, in Airpeace, we have a business plan, and we try to adhere strictly to our business plan. We started in 2014, and we told ourselves by 2017 we should, start acquiring wide-body aircraft. That's why Airpeace, we have 3 Boeing 777-300 aircraft, and because we don't want to leave the international arena for the foreign carriers, we want to play in it. Now, talking about Nigerian Airlines only sticking to the domestic arena, it has to do with financing. To get finance to acquire planes in Nigeria. For your information, most of the planes the banks finance for us, we are paying an interest rate of 23%, sometimes as high as 26% on the loans. So it's very difficult to break even if you don't have other businesses you're doing that is helping you. So we find it difficult. And of course, you have to talk about the foreign exchange. To get the foreign exchange, the dollar is very high to acquire. A lot of these things cause problems for the airlines. Again, it's the encouragement. The foreign airlines kind of scare us. They are very bullish in their approach when coming into the country. Nigeria is the largest market in Africa for everyone. And for aviation, Nigeria is the honeypot for every airline in this world. None of them gets it wrong on the Nigerian route. So Nigerian airlines find it difficult going abroad for so many reasons. They will look at those who had ventured to go abroad before, they never succeeded, because international aeropolitics do not favor the Nigerian carrier. You have to be strong, you have to be ready to take the flags for you to be able to go in there. For Airpeace, regionally, we are the only one doing regional flights out of Nigeria. A Nigerian airline doing regional flights. We have flight to about 7 African countries: Gambia, Sierra Leone, Senegal, Liberia, Ghana, Cameroon, and we want to start doing Kinshasa and Gabon, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire. We want to start doing them, but the fact is, at what cost are we doing these flights? The charges in this country to the Nigerian airline is not something to celebrate. It's not something that is amusing at all. But how many people would want to lose money to do it? Most of the things we do in Airpeace, we do it for love of country. We want to save our country. We want to prove that someone can do it. So most times I venture into doing things, not because they are profitable, but because I want to imbue in our people a sense of belonging, a sense of pride in our nation, a sense of pride as an African. We want to do it. And of course, when you want to go to some of these European countries, they bring all sorts of things to prevent you from coming in. So a lot of people are not ready to endure to get to that level where they will be allowed to fly. The European carriers would want to come to Nigeria. They wouldn't want you to come there. You write them, they will put your letters aside. They will not even respond. So it's not a level playing field. So most Nigerian airlines would want to go international.
Yes. But
what is the parameters this are careful?
Yeah, but it would appear that international operations are governed by bilateral air services agreements. So if foreign carriers are coming to Nigeria, Nigerian carriers should be allowed to reciprocally go to those countries, isn't it? Why should it be difficult?
Yes, you have the BASA out there. You have the bilateral air services agreement. Like you think everybody should obey, but it's lopsided in implementation. The implementation of this is lopsided against Nigerian airlines. These airlines and their countries pay lip service to the BASA agreement they signed when it concerns Nigeria. Over the years, a huge country like this, no airline going to Europe, no airline going to America. We can only fly within the African airspace. They deliberately frustrate you from coming in. And to me, this is sinful. It is even a crime. It shouldn't be allowed. It's totally unacceptable. I'll tell you.
Without cutting you short, I just wanted to think a bit differently. That probably, is it not because of the volume of traffic that the Nigerian carriers are able to mobilize from their domestic and regional markets that informs their inability to be successful in international markets? Because if you look at it, oftentimes we hear the saying that, no, Emirates is coming, it's full. British Airways, they come daily, they are full. And all these airlines are coming to Nigeria, but they are full. But when a Nigerian carrier starts flying out there, it's not as full. Now, isn't it just because these airlines are carrying traffic, not only from their base, but traffic from all over the world using their network to feed into Nigeria? And that most of the traffic you see getting out of Nigeria is actually returning traffic, plus some local traffic. And because the local Nigerian airlines don't have this backyard traffic, it actually tends to have lower volumes. Am I right?
Chris, my brother, you're not wrong in some way, but that's not the case. Really, stop it. That's not the case. Really, that's not the case at all. There's a lot of huge traffic out of Nigeria. I mean, direct destinations and huge traffic directly from certain points into Nigeria. For example, London. If you put 10 aircraft out there every day, British Airways and Virgin alone cannot carry all the traffic. You see some people going to London, going through Lufthansa because they couldn't get the direct flight on BA or Virgin. So it's not necessarily because these other airlines would have to move from one place to the other to bring huge traffic to Nigeria. No, this is a very huge market, a market of over 200 million people. What is happening is that they know that if any Nigerian airline gets it right, their freebies will be disrupted. Once a Nigerian airline gets it right, there's going to be problem. There's going to be reduction in their revenues. And they've been frustrating us. They should allow us to come in first. There are no Nigerian airlines operating out there. You want to go to Europe, they want to frustrate you. When you have your own aircraft, they suggest to you to use their own European carrier on wet lease. And you and I know that wet lease is an expensive venture. They suggest wet lease that you can tell their brother airline when to pull the plug, pull the rug off your feet. They cause all manner of problems for you. We've been to a European country where they use dogs on my pilots, they use dogs on the aircraft. At the end of the day, they never allowed us to do a walk around on the aircraft. You and I know that it's unsafe to take off and do a 6-hour flight to a country, and you land and you're not allowed to do a walk around on your aircraft to be able to see if that aircraft has been breached in any way. And this breaches safety. It happened to Air Peace. We landed in one of the countries out in the West on a legitimate flight operation, permitted to do that. And when we got there, they never allowed us to come down from the aircraft, to go around the aircraft, to observe the aircraft and make sure nothing dented this aircraft during transit. Because they wanted to frustrate us. They used dogs on our pilots. At the end of the day, nothing was seen. And they dispatched the flight without pilots having to do that walk around. The same country, you write them letters that you want to start flying into their country. Your mails are not answered for 1 year. Not answered for 1 year. And they will have the right and temerity to write you to say, please don't write us again whenever we are ready. Meanwhile, you're coming into my country several times a day. So,
and what is
the African people
response
will have to
of the civil aviation in this case?
Except if you bend, if you don't bend, nobody.
Yes. So, what does the Nigerian civil aviation do to assist its local airlines in situations like this?
Yeah, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, our current Director General has done his bit. He has fought like a lion to make sure there's reciprocal gestures back to the Nigerian. But he cannot continue to be fighting. The minister also, you were there, our minister, Mr. Senator Hadi Sirika, the other time had to stop a foreign airline from coming into Nigeria because Air Peace was stopped. We didn't need to go that route. So the government is doing some bit, but the government needs to do more. The government needs to do more. If it means stopping a foreign carrier from coming into the country where it is obvious the nation where that foreign carrier is coming from is trying to frustrate their own carrier, then you have to do it. You have to do it. Nigeria did it one Middle East country the other time. It succeeded, and we're allowed to start flying. And we've not stopped. We're having good loads. That's what I'm saying. They should give us the opportunity to operate. We need more government support to this end. We really need more government support to this end because it's becoming very insulting, a situation. And that takes me to the issue of the block funds. I'm sure you're going to ask questions about the truck funds. If you don't mind, you ask the question now and I'll answer you.
Yeah. So in fact, it actually dovetailed into my next question, which is actually, besides the frustrations that you are facing from countries out there that Nigerian carriers might want to operate to, locally on the continent and particularly in the Nigerian market, what is the cost situation? Are your costs at par with the operators that are coming in there to the extent that it gives you comparative advantage in flying there, or you are more expensive because of the cost overlays, because of taxes, charges, fees that are just too much?
Yes. It's very obvious. It's very obvious that the cost out here is debilitating. Is outrageous, so to say. For a Nigerian airline, you are dead on arrival because you have so many things to contend with. So many. The charges, the costs, and some others. Our geographical location is also a problem. We are here in the continent of Africa, in West Africa. No single part of the aircraft is manufactured over here. You have to get everything either from America or from Europe, or sometimes from Middle East or Asia. Customs over here do not understand what it takes to treat AOG issues. You have an AOG, a part comes in for an aircraft, under AOG application, and your part sits out there with customs for another 2 weeks. This is supposed to be AOG. So the airline is dead on arrival. There are so many other issues like Sunset Airports. Instead of you to fly about 18 hours in a day, you're flying for only 10 to 12 hours to most of the airports. So your revenue is already limited. So insurance, of course, the Nigerian airlines are stigmatized by the insurance companies abroad. They tell you that Nigeria is unsafe, yet they all come to Nigeria to do business. When it gets to insurance, they say, oh, it's unsafe, is this, is that, is that. Meanwhile, all the airlines in the world, everybody is struggling to come to Nigeria. So stigmatization is very bad from the West. They stigmatize us that the country is because they want to raise the premium. So the premium average Nigerian airline pays for one aircraft. The legacy airlines of this world will use it to pay for about 3 or 4 planes. Wow. So these are issues we are going through. So the operating costs for an average Nigerian airline in this climb is already high. Yes. Now, I told you earlier, to get financing to acquire your aircraft or to run the business, you're paying as much as 25, 26% interest on the loans. Meanwhile, out there, they borrow money 3% at most. Yeah. Here is 25 to 26%. Then, of course, everything is in dollar. You have to acquire them. Most times it's scarce. Where you find it is very expensive. Meanwhile, your receipts are in Naira. So the indigenous airlines of Nigeria should be praised. We are really, contending with a lot of issues. However, this present government has also helped airlines. For now, if you import aircraft, is zero duty.
Oh, good.
Yes, the President Muhammad Buhari signed it into law. No duty on imported aircraft, no duty on the spare parts, no VAT on tickets fares. Before, there used to be VAT on ticket fares, and the airlines were crying. The president came to our rescue and signed it into law, and now we don't pay duties and all that. So that has also helped us. That's good. But there are many other areas where we also need help that are making our operations so very, very, very expensive. And of course, you have about 10.
And the block fund issue is not helping the situation either, because the limited revenues that you generate in some countries, you cannot repatriate. How is that with airpeace?
Well, with airpeace, even for Nigerians, like I told you earlier, airpeace is like a charity organization. For Nigerians coming from abroad, they're allowed to even pay us in Naira, in our local currency. So what we have out there, outside Nigeria, is very little. But in Cameroon, we are having the problem in Cameroon to repatriate our funds to Nigeria. That is one of the countries, and some few others in West Africa. We have the problem of repatriating our money. So it's not only Nigeria, you have this issue of trapped or blocked funds. But I have to tell you this. Those who are crying that Nigeria trapped or blocked their funds, Nigeria didn't block anybody's fund. You are allowed to take your money. What they wanted to do was to get the money from the Central Bank of Nigeria at the official rate. The Nigerian airlines do not have access to that official rate too. Go to wherever Nigerian airlines buy their money and buy yours. But what is being bandied out there to the world is that Nigeria seized money belonging to foreign airlines. No, the country didn't seize. You are free to meet your bank, buy from the bank at what they call the I&E window, import and export window. You can buy. The only thing is that the money is a little bit high. But most of these foreign airlines would want to buy it at the central bank official rate. The central bank doesn't have the money to even sell. We, the airlines of Nigeria, cannot even access the central bank rate. We buy the I&E from the I&E window too. So the foreign airlines should also buy from the I&E window, because they're bringing a bad name to my country by always saying that Nigeria seized their funds. It's not true. Nigeria did not seize the funds. However, they find it difficult to access their funds through the central bank window.
Okay, I see.
We are saying that they should also access through the same window where we access it from. It's the same thing. And of course, the foreign airlines are crying that their funds are seized. If you know that you cannot repatriate your funds as and when due, why are you increasing your frequencies into Nigeria, increasing your destinations into Nigeria, and you're bringing bad name to the country? There are some airlines, foreign airlines, coming to Nigeria. They have Kano, they have Port Harcourt, they have Lagos, they have Abuja, they have Enugu. They're even applying to go to Owerri. So why do you, if the country is so bad, why do you want to do about 7 destinations into one nation that you claim that business is bad, the nation is bad? So they should stop stigmatizing us. And again, they're not flying, they're not playing fair. The local airlines are at their mercy. Not even in America do you hop from one place to the other. You don't do it in America. Even with a private jet, you get to America, you're going to Atlanta, you fly from Nigeria to New York. When you get there, they will allow you to refill in New York to go to Atlanta. Once you get, you should never use that aircraft again within the American airspace until the day you're going back on how you came. Not talk of a commercial plane. But in Nigeria, you have people hopping from one place to the other. Somebody will come to Abuja, from Abuja to Port Harcourt, from Port Harcourt to Abuja, then back to their country. And at the same time, the person has several other destinations. How will Nigerian airlines grow under this kind of system? In India, it's the same thing. In India, you cannot land in India and from there start going to another place. They will not allow that. Most of these countries don't allow that. I know a country in Africa that will not even allow you to come and set up airline in their country. We have gone through the back to go to that country to set up airline. They told you that it's only that particular airline that is allowed to run, that you're not allowed to come in. Meanwhile, everybody wants to come.
Yes. But
and it affects the economic country.
Sir, why wouldn't the Nigerian airlines cooperate and collaborate so that they cover their entire domestic market and feed through Lagos or Abuja airport to the external world? What's holding back cooperation among Nigerian carriers?
Let me tell you something. There's a lot of capacity already in the Nigerian domestic market. In fact, there's an overcapacity already. Some people might tell you it's not enough. No, there's an overcapacity. Because now what we are doing is that even fares have come down below the unit cost per seat because of competition. We have so many airlines grappling for the few cities, the cities with airports. So the Nigerian Airlines, we've already formed an alliance. We have one we call the Spring Alliance that we established recently. But we did that for the comfort of the passengers. So that if one airline is AOG, you can put your passengers on the other one. Later you settle your bills. But the truth is that there's an overcapacity in the system. And more airlines are seeking AOC with the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. So there's no reason for any foreign airline to come and help. There's no reason at all. We are interconnected everywhere. The Nigerian airlines are and strong.
Sir, but I also noticed that probably there's overcapacity, but you don't think the overcapacity is as a result of the scheduling is a scheduling issue of the airlines, because all the airlines domestically wants to leave at the same time, arrive at the same time, and so there's no spread all through the day. And probably that is where the international operators find the opportunity to come in. If the Nigerian airlines were, for instance, spread across all the markets they operate to, and this is where collaboration is very critical. If you were working together and then you say, look, let me leave at 7 o'clock, you leave at 9 o'clock, another leave at 12 o'clock, another at 2 o'clock, another at 3, and then in that order, so that we cover the entire day. Then we feed operators beyond. Wouldn't that help?
You see, what you've just said,
yeah.
Outside Nigeria, or maybe how many hours in a day do you think your aircraft is supposed to fly? How many hours in a day? From what you've just narrated, you're already limiting yourself. That's a recipe for closure in no distant time. Because if you bring an aircraft with all the people you employed, from what you've just said, you may end up doing only 3 on that aircraft. That aircraft is supposed to fly at least 10 or 12 times in a day, considering our distances. So if you limit that aircraft to do only 3 aircraft, then of course it becomes a safety issue, because the time you don't have money to run your operations, you don't have money to pay your bills, pay whatever loan you must have taken on that aircraft, pay your staff, then you may start cutting corners. So the economics of aviation, we never support, maybe in the morning. We have a culture here. In the morning, everybody goes to Lagos or Abuja or some other places. If you don't find yourself within that space, believe me, you're not going to get anything. But of course, I understand what you're saying. There are some other airports, some other routes. Nigeria is like a triangle. You either go to Port Harcourt, or you go to Kano, or you go to Lagos. But with Airpeace, we started interconnecting cities that are underserved.
Great.
Great niche market. Today, we are doing Kano, Port Harcourt. It has never been done since the beginning of the country. We are doing Kano, Port Harcourt, Kano. We are doing Asaba, Kano, Asaba. Nobody has ever done that. We're even doing Benin, Port Harcourt, which is a 20-minute flight. Nobody before, if you are in Benin and you want to go to Port Harcourt, you needed to go to Lagos,
yes,
then fly over, come and fly over Benin again to go to Port Harcourt. But now we are trying to interconnect cities. That is the beauty of these Embraer E2 jets, because as big as they are, they can play in short fields. They can take off in short fields and land in short fields. Fantastic airplane. So we've been doing that. We're interconnecting. But remember, the traffic in those places is not the same as the traffic going to Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, or Kano. There are some places. In Nigeria, you have to study the traffic. Sometimes it's seasonal. Now we are in the low traffic season in Nigeria. A lot of people are not traveling. That is why most airlines fare is now below the unit cost per seat. This season, maybe in the next 2 months before Easter, it will start picking up again. So you really have to. A lot of people are not giving the Nigerian airlines the kudos they deserve. They are operating in an environment they should be applauded for what they are doing. Patriotic people.
Yeah, so I mean, people like us seem to understand a bit about the Nigerian operation landscape, and we do appreciate the number of airlines that have come and gone in Nigeria and the efforts the existing ones are making to remain steadfast and compete against all the odds. We do appreciate those ones, and we would want to work and help the Nigerian operators to strengthen and take charge of their domestic market so that they can effectively compete with international operations. Now, what I do think is that for some of the places where we have foreign airlines trying to do direct operations into and out of, it's probably because the passengers from those points need a direct flights from those points out of the country rather than going to Lagos, Abuja to connect and go out. And so if that is lacking and the foreign carrier can provide that link, they probably are using that, isn't it?
That brings me to the question of patriotism. Sometimes it's not what the people want, but what is good for the country. And even the people wanting it in the long run. If we all do or take actions that will deplete the foreign reserves of your nation, look at the foreign airlines, some of them had about $400 million. I mean, it is affecting the ordinary man on the streets. So it's not about what you want. There are some places in this country, they do importation. If you allow them, I'm from the southeastern part of Nigeria. They are mostly businessmen, traders. If you allow them, they can import even water from abroad. The fact that drinking water from abroad does not mean you must allow that to happen because the person wants it. The foreign airlines that are doing this and giving all sorts of, and they have agents that will defend them. They have agents within, even within government. They have agents within the society that will continuously defend them. Excuse me. To propagate whatever they are propagating. Do they allow that in their own country? The answer is no. After all, everybody would like to have an airport in front of your house. Let me fly from Atlanta and land in front of your house. But how would that help the country? How would that help? We are the people providing the jobs. All the airlines, the foreign airlines coming to Nigeria, all of them put together, their staff strength is not up to 100. The least airline in Nigeria is employing nothing less than 1,000 people. All the airlines use, is either they use NACO, the ground handling service agents, or they use SACO. They rotate them. It's the same staff. They wear the uniform, work for Lufthansa at this moment. 3 hours later, they change the uniform, work for British Airways. 10 hours later, they wear Emirates. So they're all using the ground handling service agents. We are the ones saving our nation. We are the ones taking people out of the streets of Nigeria. We are the ones stopping suicide bombing by the kind of jobs we give. We are the ones doing that. So it's not about the comfort of people wanting to have foreign airlines drop them from Australia in front of their house. No. Countries must develop policies to stop such things.
Yes.
You know, if Africa must grow, we must stop, bending to certain secrecies.
And it's in fact, it is indeed for the reason to actually help Africa grow and also get African airlines create more jobs, more opportunities, that the African Union came up with the concept of the single African air transport market, which is intended to open up Africa to African operators. And I think if fully implemented, SAATM will actually be a game changer for African operators. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've always said this. The single African air transport market, SAATM, is a noble idea. I like the idea. If sincerely implemented, it's going to help the cost of aviation on the African continent. It is also going to help boost the economies of the African nations. However, SAATM, the way it is implemented now, is very lopsided. A lot of those who are itching to have SAATM implemented are not sincere in the way their countries are implementing the little ones we are doing now. The Nigerian airlines have come together to say that we support SAATM, but we do not support the way they are being implemented. A situation where fellow African countries find it difficult to allow Nigerian airlines to come into their airspace, to come into their countries, is unacceptable. A situation where a country in West Africa, when we applied to come into that country, wrote a letter to us saying, no, you can't come in. We don't want you to come in. They were so stupid and foolish to have done that in writing. And we have the letter to date, stopping us from coming. Meanwhile, an airline from that country comes into Nigeria about 4 times a day. I mean, this is insulting to the sensibilities of my nation and any right-thinking person. It will look as if Onyema talks too much, but I love my nation and I must fight for my country.
Yeah.
And I love Africa. I must fight for Africa. I want the good of Africa. But a situation where a country in West Africa, because they were being controlled by another bigger airline, somewhere in East Africa or Central Africa, wherever they come from, and they told them not to allow APs to come because that's their subsidiary. That is unacceptable, very unacceptable. So they only allowed us, they gave us a landing permit when I threatened to go to Nigerian court to stop their airline from coming to Nigeria. And for every airline, for every country that stops APs, in fact, if my government is not ready to stop them, I will go to court. I'll go to Nigerian court, and I promise you, I will stop their own airline from coming to Nigeria. So the reciprocity is not there.
Yes.
SAATM will work only when African nations are very sincere in their implementation of SAATM. I'll give you another example.
Yes.
Another West African country, knowing fully well that APs will go to court in Nigeria and stop their national carrier from coming to Nigeria, gave us landing permit, but they waited for us to come and set up. When we got there, the first thing they said that they had no office for us. That is one. The second one, they gave us landing permit and charges amounted to about $10,500 per landing. How many passengers will I be carrying into their country that I'm paying about 10,000 plus per landing? It's nowhere in the world. They don't charge their own airline. So discriminatory treatment is very, very bad. So for SAATM to succeed, the implementation must be sincere. African countries must be sincere in their implementation. My country is the shopping ground for every airline in the world, including African countries. But they must also open their borders for Nigerian airlines. We are not against foreign countries or brother airlines from Africa coming to Nigeria. All we are asking is a reciprocal treatment.
I think it is for this reason that the dispute settlement mechanism of SAATM was passed last year, and it is actually to arbitrate and resolve these things speedily and fairly. So I think subsequently, rather than going to court, probably the first step would be to reach out to the African Civil Aviation Commission, who is the executing agency of the YD. And I am sure once it is brought to their attention, they would speedily try to resolve this amicably and get things going. Honestly, the issue of reciprocity in terms of charges and non-discrimination in terms of the fees is very important in this case. And also allowing airlines to fly freely as the Nigerian carriers have allowed, because I see some African airlines have multiple designated entry points into Nigeria, and this should be allowed in their countries as well, if the Nigerian carriers want to exercise safe. You know, I mean, that is the spirit of SAATM. But say, at this point, allow me to pick a couple of questions that are coming in so that we can respond. We just have about 6 minutes to wrap up. Now, Mr. Babakar Kanyi from Gambia says that the issue of charges, passenger taxes and charges is no different in the Republic of Gambia. They pay $20 for departing and arriving passengers. Now, he's asking whether this charge, you think this charge will be put off for people flying 45 minutes, whether this charge is justifiable for people flying just about 45 minutes between countries, and why should people just 45 minutes to pay such a high charge? I think this is a very obvious question of distance relatedness he's talking about here. And I think probably it's not applicable. But let me take a more specific question that you can respond to. Now, somebody is saying that the Nigerian government must, this is Aaron Monetsi, the Nigerian government must be able to enforce the BASA if the Nigerian Airlines lodge complaints to the Ministry of Aviation. Are there any examples of the Nigerian government not supporting Nigerian Airlines? Are there situations that you think the government was not supporting you?
The Nigerian government is very, very civil. They play by the rules. They honor treaties. Where they needed to, they've waded in. I don't think Nigerian government has withdrawn its support. I mean, in issues of BASA. But they cannot put a knife on the throat of these countries. I think the support they are giving to Nigerian Airlines will have to do now where they take direct action by stopping those airlines from coming. Remember General Sani Abacha of the blessed memory stopping British Airways when they stopped Nigerian Airways from coming to Britain on very flimsy excuses. And told the story of how it ended. So the same thing, Nigerian government has been reaching out to those governments, reaching out to those nations, allow Nigerian carriers. But I think we have to do more by way of, if our own airline is not going there, then yours must stop until such a time our airlines go there. Then of course, but when you're talking about foreign countries, it's not even just the West, even in Africa here. Some airlines in the African continent try to be very bullish, try to not fair, play fair. A situation where you believe that you're very strong enough to bully others out of operation. I mean, that is not fair. You must play fair. We are having that same problem in Nigeria where a particular airline is trying to come in here to even do domestic operations and do other things, having failed in getting some other Nigerian airlines to use them. So we need to be careful. We need to be careful the way we play. And some time ago, someone asked me about why is it that African airlines are not cooperating with each other? It's mutual suspicions like this that is causing such problems. If I know that you're very predatory in your approach, I will avoid you. So predatory instincts and predatory activities of some few African airlines is not acceptable. Nigerian airlines have sworn, even if it means us closing down, not to allow tendencies where any African airline will come in here to stay doomed for others and not trying to play fair or equal playing distance. It will not happen. We don't mind closing shop. We've agreed on that. We don't mind closing shop. And leave the sea than to be in this business and when any foreign airline comes in here to destroy our national economy in the guise of airline operations. We will not allow that. We will not sit down. So any cooperation is very, very important. We can cooperate with other airlines, but it must be in a very respectable manner. It must not be predatory in nature. It must not be predatory. It must be a win-win for everybody to succeed. We want our brother African countries to come to Nigeria to fly. We want to go to their countries too. We want a win-win for everyone. We want civil aviation in Africa to grow. We don't want, we gain a lot from the bigger airlines. We can get a lot of knowledge from them, but it has to be a kind of mutual arrangement and not an outright intention to annihilate others. It will not happen.
No, I mean, definitely it should not happen that a particular market is completely taken over by others in using predatory pricing or predatory business tactics. I mean, that is absolutely unacceptable, but the fairness and the rules, national policy must ensure that it protects local interests as well as the foreign interests to ensure that there's fairness and there's equity in the business that we do. So our time is up, but I have a number of questions. I will just read out the questions and we will send them to you. And if you find time, you can respond to them so that we get back to the people before I get your final thoughts. So we have Victoria Moore says, hi there. Neither of the questions, okay, she asked questions earlier, but she says they were not answered. I thought one of them was. She says, I am interested in Airpeace future fleet plans and whether they have had any problems and whether Airpeace have had any problems with the GTF engine performance on the E2s. Then Victoria Moore again asked also, how does Airpeace feel about Nigeria's air launch? Will this affect Airpeace? She would want to know. Now, the next question was from Mark Pilling. And Mark says, what are your top route targets in Europe and the Middle East? And when do you want to start them, considering your comments on obtaining market access? So new routes, where are they? Where do you want to? In Middle East and Europe. And Mark Pilling again says, how many aircraft and what types will you take delivery of this year? And what will your fleet size be by the end of 2023? That's a future projection of your fleets. And then Vinette Gupta says, taxes must be rationalized as this is one of the biggest factors limiting intra-Africa connectivity as the overall cost becomes way too high. And then Mohammed Yazizi says, what do you think of partnership possibilities in Africa in general? Why are interline cooperation alternatives too little with African airlines? Alfred Walili says, how do you handle distribution at Airpeace? Is it through GDS or web portal? And what are your thoughts on NDC? Then Akinola Kola Akinlade says, kudos to Barrister Alain Onyema for being patriotic enough to say the truth without any iota of coloration. The quintessential ambassador of Nigerian aviation. Congratulations, sir. And then finally, Mohammed Yazizi says again, do you think SAATM will help resolve these issues? So these are our questions, but as you can see, there are a lot. You know,
I can give you a summary in 2 minutes of some of those things.
Okay, sir. Yeah, in 2 minutes, because we already overshot time. Okay, 2 minutes. Yes, sir.
I think one of the questions is about Nigerian Air.
Yes.
We, airline operators of Nigeria and Airpeace, we are not scared of Nigerian Air or the coming of any airline for that matter. We are not. In fact, there are so many, about 23 other airlines seeking AOC, including the Nigerian Air, to come into the Nigerian market. We are not scared. The more, the merrier. So where we have problems, we've already stated it. And I'm sure the person was trying to refer to the matter that is before the courts, which I'm not going to touch on because the matters, some matters are before the courts. I will not make comments. But we are not afraid of, and we're not against the formation of new airlines in whatever name or guys or whatever. The things we're against are before the courts, and I will not go into that for now. So, and in ethics, you see, without being boastful, any airline coming, we have to do a catch-up. Even the foreign airlines coming here, if we are given the same level playing field, we have nothing to fear. Somebody asked about the Embraer. The Embraer engine, the Pratt & Whitney engine is a very robust engine. It's very good. So if there are any teething problems, those are being solved. I mean, you can understand for a brand new technology, you may have some teething problems, but that does not make it a bad aircraft. The engine is good, the aircraft is good, and like I said, I urge anybody who wants to even save costs, because it's called the profit hunter. That aircraft will save you money on fuel. I urge everybody to go for that aircraft. If the engine is bad, that aircraft wouldn't have been saving such fuel. So it's a very powerful engine, it's a very powerful aircraft, very good. Now on our fleet, we have an order of 30 of those E2 aircraft. 5 have entered, we have 25 to take. Before the end of the year, some more will come in. We have an order for 15 Boeing 737 MAX. We have an order for 7 Boeing 737 MAX 8. Then 8 Boeing 737 MAX 10. I mean, firm order paid for. So APC is expecting a total of 40 aircraft, brand new. And of course, we have our 777s, and we're also discussing with Boeing for the Dreamliner, which I feel will come very soon.
Wow, Chairman, this is excellent, but I cannot let you go until you have given me your final word with all the thought-provoking ideas you have shared with us, and the honesty and saying this as it is that you've given to us. Now I want you to give us your final message, whether it's to the governments, is to other operators, is to the industry, is to our regulators. I leave to you 2 minutes to give us your final thoughts, sir. Thank you.
Yes, I want to say this, and I want to say it with every sense of responsibility and seriousness. Africa must wake up. Africa is the next destination. Nobody should tell us that we are still in the dark ages. No, there's a new scramble for Africa going on now, and we should not be left to be scrambled on again, like it happened in the centuries before now. Africa must wake up. We must collaborate. There should be a kind of synergy between African countries. We must preach love within African nations. I don't even mind, like, you forgot to ask me the question on after. It's a very noble idea. Market where trade barriers are removed. Yes, a very noble idea, what they had in the EU. So if we can replicate such a thing in Africa, we'll be bigger than the EU. So, but we need sincerity. We should not allow ourselves to be polarized along colonial masters. Oh, I'm Francophone, I'm Anglophone, I'm Belgian, African, I'm French African, I'm English African. No, we must come together and shun those things that tend to divide us.
Excellent.
Divide us. And look at, this is a very virgin continent, a continent with enormous resources, a virgin continent yet to be devoured. We have all it takes to be great as African nations. If we do that, we have no reason to be in lack. We have no destiny with poverty. Everything will work well. But again, we need good leadership in every African nation. The leadership of African nations should have a rethink to be selfless in the first place. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairman Alain Onyema, Chairman of Air Peace Nigeria, for your candid views shared on this platform today. I'm most grateful. There are a lot of comments that have come in the chat box, but unfortunately time would not allow me to go through all of them, but most of them were full of appreciation for your candid expressions and views on these industry issues and what is ailing us and where we need to tackle and address the problems from. So I would want, on behalf of AFRAA and on behalf of all the delegates who are still glued on to this platform 10 minutes after we have passed our time, I want to thank all of you and thank you, Chairman, for your thoughts and your position on the industry today. I look forward to having you again very soon so that we can continue with this dialogue. I wish we had more than 1 hour to continue to discuss these important subjects in African continent, but time would not allow. But we certainly would find another opportunity where we would engage again and have a discussion on this on further. To our delegates who are still with us, I want to thank all of you for your time and for staying with us. To those who have asked questions or made comments, we really appreciate your opinions, your views, and your questions. Unfortunately, we've not been able to take all of them due to time constraints, but we would forward the questions to the chairman, and time permitting, he would respond to those questions to you. Thank you very much, everyone, and I wish you a very nice day and a success for the rest of the week ahead. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Bye-bye to all.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone that keyed into this program this morning. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.